I'm going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for September the 19th, 2017. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of September 5th, 2017.
After review of the minutes, are there any corrections?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments August 31, 2017 through September 13, 2017.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, sir. The purchasing committee met earlier today and grilled the city manager over the claims list, and he answered all those questions nicely, and I move for approval.
Second.
Have a
Well,
motion
humor
and a
today.
second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Receive report from the Greater Muskogee Area Chamber of Commerce as to project status and progress towards achieving the objectives outlined in the 2016-2017 program of work for the city's tourism contract and take any necessary action.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, we have with us DJ Thompson and Ashley Wilburn from the Chamber to update us on our contract that we have with them for tourism. They've got a presentation that's in front of you along with some bullet points about their highlights, and I'll let them present the information.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and committee members. Thank you for having us here today. We're very excited to be able to finally present this to you, and usually this is something we do in the spring, but for various reasons we have been working with the city manager and leadership to make sure it's the right presentation and exactly what you need to hear. So we are finally here today, and we're very happy to be here. Thank you very much. I think I'm going to let Ashley do the majority of the presentation. Ashley Wilburn is our Director of Tourism, and she came on board with us early March. And I think what you will see from her presentation today is that we have worked very hard this year as a team to build our community partnerships, to listen better, to communicate better, to figure out what the real needs are of Muskogee for tourism, and to also put those things into action. And I think you will hear a lot of that today, as well as that we have not been afraid to try new things. And we feel like we've been very successful with a lot of new things that we're trying, and we have a lot more in store for next year. So with that, I will just say thank you again, and we will be happy to answer questions at the end, but I'm going to let Ashley give the presentation.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for having us and giving us this opportunity. You do have in front of you, I will be referring to the tourism accomplishments, the bullet points, quite frequently, and I will try to get through this as quickly as possible so that you can ask any questions that you may have. So here you see listed the members of the Chamber and Tourism team. There are several new members there. It's been stated more than once by some of you and DJ and several of our Chamber Board members that they feel that we have a really efficient, knowledgeable team, that everyone is in sort of the perfect position to for what they have to offer. And I feel like we're running like a well-oiled machine, especially in the tourism side. And it's really helped propel us forward and be able to achieve some of these things that you'll be seeing highlighted here. This is our tourism committee. We do have 3 vacant seats that are awaiting appointment. We have been in conversation with the deputy mayor that has some of those appointments, and we've been sort of going back and forth about what we want to see the new seats, the composition to look like, who we think would be a good candidate for that. And we really want to highlight the fact that this is there's a lot of responsibility with these chairs, so that's why we've got 3 vacant right now, but those will be filled in the near future. So here you see a picture of the 2017 Texas Travel Industry Association Travel and Tourism College. That's a college that's held it's a 3-year program, and it's held every summer in Austin, Texas, and it is one of the professional development seminars that are listed on your accomplishments sheet. And I would say that it is probably the most beneficial. It is a week long. It's extremely condensed information from tourism, different people in the tourism industry that are very well respected, seasoned professionals that are really just giving you the nitty-gritty of what's happening now and in the near future in the travel industry. And something that I did attend this in June, I feel like if I were able to do one thing, that would be the most beneficial. And I saw a lot of what we were already doing or had in the works reflected in what they were suggesting in this program. So it's good to hear from, professionals on a national level that we are definitely on the right track, if not ahead of the curve there. But you will see there some of the other professional development seminars that we've attended, CMI, ESCO, and the Oklahoma Travel Industry Association Conference on Tourism. The Community Support Grant Program is a program that we established several years ago to make some of these funds available to the public whenever they're putting on events that are helping to market Muskogee as a tourist destination and make it more of an inviting place, and anything that contributes to the bigger picture of marketing Muskogee as a destination. We wanted to make those funds available for those people, and this is our program that we've put in place with an application process that we condensed in this fiscal year. That was part of our some of our program of work for 2017-18 was to condense it and really help focus that on the most viable events that we've had in the past, the most successful. But these funds have helped to fund some of these events that you see here, the Castle, Renaissance Fair, Bare Bones Film Festival, and so on. And there's some pictures. Shop Real Okie is something that we put in place a couple of years ago, and tourism is helping to market that. It's something that helps show Okie pride and Muskogee pride. These things are available online through our new website that tourism did contribute to developing. It's a state-of-the-art website. The one we had before was a bit dated, and now we are right up there with the top, the rest of them. We've got a lot of traffic going that way. We've also integrated an app, which you'll see in one of the slides, in a widget. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's an integrative planning program. So there's an ever-present icon on our website that invites people to plan a visit to Muskogee. It's got a business directory, a live fed list of current events fed from our community calendar, and a live feed of our social media. So it keeps people around the world interacting with what's going on in Muskogee, and it truly is a live feed, so it's just, it's always up to date. And we have seen, I believe it's right under 300 downloads just since launch, which we're in our 4th week of launch with the app. Now, I will say that we are the first destination in the state of Oklahoma to actually have an app, a destination-oriented app that and widget integrated into our website. That's something that on a state level that they have talked about for a long time. I think a lot of people are afraid to embrace something like that. It's kind of hard to understand, and it's just unknown to a lot of people how the technology works. But that's something that we have embraced. We decided to go ahead and take the plunge, and so far we've seen a lot of positive feedback on it. So we will be pushing that in the near future. Something else that's worth noting in this is that we have, through this, we've begun to use geofencing and beacon technologies. And you've probably heard those buzzwords, but what that is, it helps us with our, I kind of skipped over our trade shows here. This is just a list of the trade shows that we've attended. But our visitor tracking, I think, is one of the highlights also of what we've been able to accomplish in this last year through the app, and also through an independent digital visitor tracking system that we'll be putting in place in October, on October 9th. That has been in the works since I started back in March, and we've finally got it. We'll be hitting the ground next month, but we will be able to get unbiased third-party numbers as far as the number of visitors that we've got coming through Muskogee at any given attraction, at any given time. I feel like that's something for us. It's important for us to be able to report that to you all so that you know that it's not overinflated or under impressive numbers, that those are as accurate as we can get them using the latest technology that's available to us. And that's something that's been requested in the past. We've definitely tried to heed some of your suggestions as well as the community, our board, and really pay attention to that and start implementing it into our program of work. So you will see that in this coming year also. The hotel motel tax collection, you can see the numbers there. I just kind of want to hit on the fact that we did have an increase. We did receive a small cut over this last fiscal year, as you all know, in our operating budget, but we were still able to perform and contribute to that number growing, along with the city, the hotels, several of the attractions. This is a joint effort, and it requires a positive synergy that I feel we've contributed positively to. We have good working relationships with the city of Muskogee, Main Street Muskogee, the attractions, the hoteliers. I feel like we've got a very good synergy going on right now, and all of that is what contributes to that growth that you see right there. And there's nothing to say that it won't continue to grow this year. So we are excited to see what happens there. We want to say thank you for allowing us to serve our community for another successful year. Now, I did, like I said, I wanted to kind of breeze through that very quickly because I want to give you plenty of opportunity to ask any questions that you may have about anything that I've touched on.
So we have fencing now at 2 locations, one at
Correct.
the chamber office and tourism office, and
We
the
have
other
one at the tourism
castle.
office, and then we have one, we'll be implementing one at the Batfish, the USS Batfish, and what that will be doing is more of a welcome message. We want to test the reception and the software and all of that before we go and put it on every building in Muskogee. But I'm able to remotely program. I can do it from my house. DJ can do it from the office. Anybody can do it from anywhere. We can program what that message will say. Come on into the chamber office for 10% off of a Real Okie shirt. Pick up an activities guide while you're in here. Let us tell you about town. Whatever we want that message to say. That's a beacon, and it's about the size of a pager, and it attaches to a magnetic surface within a 500-foot range of where you're wanting to focus. And so we've got that in place, and it will be the first week of October we'll be able to start sending out those messages.
Is that mounted to a sign? Did I see a new tourism sign?
You did see a new sign, a new
What is that?
tourism sign. But that does not have to be mounted to that. It could be mounted to any magnetic surface. Ours is can be on the file cabinet in the back of the office. I mean, it's very informal, and there's not any trouble with interference or anything like that. What you saw was with the TIC closing on 69 Highway, we were having trouble with volunteer staff, it being staffed solely by volunteers, and some costly repairs that needed to be made. We decided to move some of what we had, our literature racks, and physically move a lot of that and train a lot of the staff at the attractions to serve as new TIC locations. And the sign that you saw is highway approved, ODOT approved, reflective signage for their parking lots and for the areas leading up to the attractions, designating them as tourist information centers. And again, we encourage them to download this app. I know I sound like a commercial and I keep repeating it, but it really is a great way. It's free, it's ad-free for people to stay on top of our community calendar and really get people in touch with it. A lot of even residents, but especially visitors, aren't aware of how to get that information, how to know what we have going on in Muskogee. So,
Just by way of comment, not a question, but I mentioned to DJ and to Ashley both before the meeting started. I met a lady last week in Muskogee and said, "What brought you to Muskogee?" And said, "My husband is a musician. We moved here because he went to work at the castle as a musician, and that's what moved us here." And they literally came from the West Coast area and moved here. And I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? When you think about the impact of tourism on our local economy, you don't necessarily think of people moving here. You think of them visiting here. So,
well, it's hard when you're inside of the bubble to see from outside, an outsider's perspective. But there are people. We've got app downloads in China. I'm able to see who is interacting with our app and our widget and our website. But we've got people in parts of Asia. We've got people in Alaska. There are people all over the globe that are looking at Muskogee right now. And that's good to know that we're able to reach these people through these new avenues. It's kind of scary to invest in these sorts of things, and it's sort of uncharted territory as far as the technology, but it's astonishing when you get it in place and you become familiar with it, how effective it is.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see, and I'm very excited to see where it goes this year.
I really like the aggressiveness of connecting to our future and connecting to our youth. What about the possibilities of connecting to geotags to our historical monuments and locations in our community?
So what we've got going in place October 9th, and this is sort of for a trial, a beta testing period. We wanted to, Christmas and the Azalea Festival are obviously our busiest times of year tourism-wise. So we really wanted to tap into the Christmas season and see if there was a way we could track the number of people that were going through the inflatables at the castle and the Garden of Lights at Honor Heights Park. So on October 9th, what will be installed is another access point. It's not really a beacon, but it'll basically be communicating with people's phones. Anyone that walks by with a mobile phone or drives through, it's going to count them. And the reason I'm explaining this to you is because that technology, after we get past that beta testing period, and we're really familiar with how the software works and the technology works, we can then start to place those on historical markers. The statue outside of the Three Rivers Museum or anything that you basically walk up to it, and if you're within a certain programmable radius of any certain point, something will come up on your phone. You are now standing in front of the Girl Scout statue that's, that commemorates the sale of the first Girl Scout cookie in 1911, I believe it was. But that is absolutely possible with the technology that we've got going in place October 9th. So that's where we're headed. But right now we're trying to get everybody's feet warm to the fire first before we just throw it all in. But we're really excited about that.
What a vision for our community that we can replay the past to our future.
Absolutely.
What a vision. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for saying that.
So I did want to add that this week, last week, I had a chance to talk to some city managers, and one of the things that they said is, can you get me in touch with your tourism people? They do a really good job. We've heard good things. We want to see if we can do what Muskogee's done. And so what we're seeing is not that we're doing the same thing we did that got their attention that we did a year or two ago. We're doing something a step beyond that now, and we're keeping going. And so I want to make sure that we, number one, acknowledge that we've had a good tourism team in place, and we're doing well and doing even more now. And so I'm impressed and want to make sure you guys understand that as well.
One of my concerns has been, how do we get people off? One of council's concern, one of our community's concerns is, how do we get people off 69? They're all passing right by our community. When you're talking about our youth, one of the cell phones is one of the ways of doing it. And geotags and geoplacement is one of the ways, because if they're looking for things and they can see those historical monuments and historical placements, it will drag them off. You don't need signs. It's going to be electronic geotags. It's going to pull them off, and they're going to go, ooh, that's interesting. So, wow.
Absolutely.
I'm
and
excited.
targeted marketing via social media and things like that are further down the line, but once we start to learn the patterns of who our demographic is and how they're interacting with our city, then we're able to sort of tailor what we're showing them on their phones to what they're interested in. So those are all things that we're looking at, but again, we got to get our feet wet first. So that's what we're doing right now.
One quick question. I just downloaded the app a minute ago. Are people paying to be on this app, or are these businesses that are chamber members that we're highlighting?
This is separate from what the chamber features on the website, for instance, in the member directory. That is a completely free, unbiased treasure trove of everything that we could all collectively sit and think of, every little taco stand. We don't want anyone left out, and I have stressed time and again in our meetings, we all have, we're open. This is still in development. If you see something missing on there, we will absolutely put it on there. We don't want anything left out of that. We want people to know about the hidden gems just as much as we want them to know about the chains and the bigger things, even more so, the locally owned. And I think that contributes greatly to our Shop Small initiative and working with Main Street Muskogee on really bringing people downtown, shopping local, keeping their tax dollars here. Just on Facebook, casually, I see a lot of people talking about, well, there's nowhere to eat here. What are some of the restaurants? This is why we always go to Tulsa. And I'm like, download the app and look. There are, I guarantee you, restaurants that you didn't even know were here. So it's one more step towards keeping the dollars here in Muskogee.
It's pretty cool.
You're going to start getting messages from me now, Mr. Mayor.
It's okay. Under steak, Colton Steakhouse and Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers. And under pizza, there's quite a few.
Thank you, Ashley and Dee Dee. Do we have any further questions for him?
Yes, may I be recognized?
Yes.
I was just wondering, do y'all work with I know you work with the hotels. One of the things every year we have here in Muskogee is the Bass Reeves tour. We have that. And some of the people asked me when I went, why come there's no information on the hotels about the tour? And is there any way y'all can put out that information? Do y'all have information at the chamber about Bass Reeves?
We do. And in working with, we work very closely with the Muskogee Hotel and Lodging Association, for instance. They've formed within the last year or so. And that's our point of contact for the hotels primarily. And they have been very interactive with us, and they've contributed to the app development, business directory, and things, and the community calendar mainly is what I'm trying to get every hotel on, is to really get familiar with what we've got going on in Muskogee. Not just that, but I mean, there are some things that maybe don't have a huge marketing budget like the chili cook-off does. That's how you can access that as a hotelier, to be able to tell people what's going on. So even if an event doesn't have a marketing budget, we're still able to contribute to getting that word out there and getting people aware of what we have going on. As far as what tourism could contribute outside of the hotels, we've got marketing assistance available, regardless of whether you're seeking financial assistance. We're happy to help anytime with putting things on social media, getting the word out there, writing press releases, things like that. We made an appearance 2 weeks ago on Good Day Tulsa for the art crawl, for instance, and several of the other. We had 9 events going on September 9th. I mean, that's fantastic. That's awesome to see all of that going on, but how are people going to know about all of that? So we've done as much as possible, and I think it's been really effective to help get the word out about everything, big or small.
Job well done. I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right, we'll move on to item number 4.
Consider approval to enter into an agreement between the City of Muskogee and the Board of Commissioners of Muskogee County for the disbursement of the 2017 Justice Assistant Grant Funds, with the city receiving an allocation of $17,257 and the county receiving an allocation of $17,257 for a total award amount of $34,514, or take other necessary action.
Chief?
Mr. Chairman, Council, this is part of an annual grant that we've been getting. It doesn't require any match. It was the genesis of our technology when we originally got this, but that was several years ago. The Justice Assistant Program gives us money every year for the last, it's been giving us money every year for the last 10 years, and it's been on a sliding scale. This year we've got $34,514. We divide that between the city and the county, so I would ask that you accept these funds.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions for Chief? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 4 passed. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval to purchase from state contract a Ford Explorer from Bob Moore Ford in the amount of $26,958 for the Public Works Department for the fiscal year 2017-2018, or take any necessary action.
Mrs. Swepton?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We are seeking approval for the purchase of a mid-size SUV off of state contract for the Public Works Department. As stated in your packet, it will be for the new Public Works Director, Mr. Greg Riley. We recommend the low state bidder of Bob Moore Ford on the Ford Explorer in the amount of $26,958. This is a budgeted item in the 2017-2018 capital outlay budget for Public Works. Be happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 5 passed, and that is our final item for the Finance Committee.
We'll now call to order the Public Works Committee. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of September 5th, 2017.
Any additions or corrections?
Move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4027A, amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 38, Environment, Article 4, Smoking and Use of Tobacco in Public Places, Section 38-98, Definitions, revising definition of vapor products, providing for repealer, severability, and setting an effective date.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is truly a housekeeping matter. In 2015, we had approved a new ordinance which prohibited smoking and use of vapor products on city property. Within that ordinance, we included a definition. Now, the definition was one that was utilized by at least 11 other cities for vapor products. Through some review, and I guess it took 2 years, we received a notice from the health department that said we, along with 11 other cities, need to modify the reference in vapor products to a particular U.S. code in the Food and Drug Administration Act. That the prior reference was to a different title, and so we've now made that change to comport with what state law definition of vapor products is. Making this change will satisfy our our Healthy Community application for this year that we intend to apply for. Other than that, there are no changes to the ordinance as it was originally presented in 2015, save the definition of vapor products. Happy to answer any questions. I recommend approval.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of the confirmation of the Board of County Commissioners' appointment of Fred Hogel to the Muskogee City County Trust Port Authority to serve a 4-year term through August 30th, 2021.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, the mayor's office received a letter from the Port Authority on August 29th. A copy of that is attached in your packet, notifying us of the appointment of reappointment of Fred Hogel to the City County Port Authority and asking for the City Council to put this item on for their consideration for confirmation. Many of you may remember on the trust authority of which the city is a co-beneficiary, there are 7 members who are appointed by the Board of County Commissioners of Muskogee County who require confirmation from this board, and there are 6 members who the City Council appoints that have to be confirmed by the Board of County Commissioners. There are 3 other positions that are presidents of banks that are on there, and so we present this item for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, may I be recognized, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Last year, I went to the county board of commissioners, and my problem is with this is that you have 12 board members on this board. Okay, back in 1990, the first time a black woman has been appointed to the board, and that was Miss Stella Derrick. She took Miss Adams' place, and Miss Adams also was influential in our community. Her husband, I believe, was a principal here in Muskogee, but she took her place. So after that, in 1996, Miss Derrick, her term was up. So that was it. That's the last time that a minority has been appointed to the Port Authority Board. All the Port Authority Board, I got all the information here from last time, and I'm gonna give the city a copy of this so y'all have it in your records next time. But the problem is with me is that these people stay on this board 20-some years. Nobody changes nothing. Last year, it was my appointment to appoint somebody to the Port Authority. And that person I appointed, she was a black female. First black female since 1996. County, I went to that meeting, they promised me. They said, Ivory, we're gonna think about it next year, and this next year it come. They said, we're gonna call you and let you know what we're gonna do. And I had a gentleman, CFO, very good in finances, but they passed him up. So, like I said, I went this morning to the Port Authority meeting, and I looked around. No minorities. You have a woman, you have, like I say, Mrs. Ledbetter, the one I appointed from the city, but the county has never appointed anybody. I got all the paperwork here, dating all the way back to the 90s. They've never appointed any minority on that board. And that's ridiculous. But I was promised that. When somebody tell me something, I take them at their word. I take them at their word. But this time, I took them at their word, but they let me down. So I just wanted to say to the citizens of Muskogee that it's ridiculous that we don't have no more minority representation. I'm not just talking about black. I'm talking about Hispanic. I'm talking about Indians. It's not like that. The Port Board is full of bankers, investors, lawyers. That's it. Good old, people with money, which I can understand. The port has to have people with money to understand different things. But Mr. Hogle, I love the man. Matter of fact, he donated to our barbecue project in Ward 3 just a week or so ago. So this will put Mr. Hogle on the board. He's already been on the board 16 years. Another 4 years, that's added to that. He's a good man. But like I said, I just thought the county would keep their word to me and put a minority on this board. So that's all I have to say, but I just wanted people out in the audience and at home to know how the Port Authority runs things and how they do things. It's not fair. Not to our minorities here in the city of Muskogee. It's not just white people in here in Muskogee. It's black people, Russian people. I know people of all over Muskogee. But we need to do something about these boards and get them right. But this Port Authority board, like I said, they let me down. But the next appointment, I may not be here on the council, but it's definitely in 2018, August of 2018. And I hope, and this here is going to be a city appointment. And what city councilmen we have up here, I hope you have the guts and the nerves to put a minority on this board. That's all I can say. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vann. Any other comments or discussion? I don't think, Tammy, I have a motion. Do I have a motion and a second already? Oh, I'm sorry. Motion and second. Any other thoughts? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully?
Yes.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Vann?
No.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 4.
Receive report on activities from the Healthy Food Retail Task Force, a subcommittee of the Muskogee Wellness Initiative, and take any necessary action.
Mr. Tucker, I see your name on this one.
Yeah, but I'm simply making introductions on this one.
Well, I was wondering.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in 2016, the City Council did approve a resolution creating the Healthy Food Retail Task Force, and they are assigned to study and make recommendations to you all for further policy considerations on healthy food availability within Muskogee. With that, I'd like to introduce Virginia Stanley and Doug Walton, who are members of the Healthy Food Retail Task Force, to make a presentation on how their progress has moved forward and to notify you of a project that is going to be underway.
Ms. Stanley, I don't know if you've been before this committee before. I know Doug. So would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I'm Virginia with OSU Extension. And I'll let Doug introduce what we're going to talk about.
Sure. Doug Walton, Muskogee County Health Department. The Health Department is helping to support the work of the task force. I'm staffing the committee and doing as much as I can to keep it going. Virginia's chairing the task force, thank goodness, and helping lead the way. One of the items, if you recall maybe from the resolution, the task force is charged with identifying barriers to food security within the city of Muskogee, what it is that keeps people from having access to nutritious foods within the community. And so we've put together as a task force a survey that we would like to have completed by residents through a number of different means, which we'll be talking about. The survey has been, I think, shared with you for your agenda today. But I know Virginia wants to give an update on some of the other work that the committee's been doing and what kind of led us to the survey.
Okay. Our task force had our initial meeting in January, and we've been meeting on a regular basis since then. The group has formed 2 subcommittees, which are focused around the 4 topics addressed in the resolution to identify barriers and possible solutions regarding transportation and marketing, and then food insecurity and cultural preferences. Currently, the committees are gathering and compiling lists of existing community resources, such as food assistance programs that would include government assistance, such as SNAP and WIC, and then our community pantries and meals. The transportation services that are available in our community, such as Muskogee Transit, cabs, and other on-demand services, and the senior, tribal, and VA shuttles. This information will also be shared to help the Okie 411 app to make sure it's complete and current with their information. The committees are also gathering information on successful and promising programs in other communities that address these issues. And if time allows, the task force hopes to survey some grocery store owners and managers to get their input about the barriers to marketing and promoting healthy foods.
So the survey that you have before you that the task force has developed is really just an effort to both identify some of the challenges that people in our community face in terms of accessing nutritious foods, whether it's transportation or financial barriers or not knowing how to select or prepare certain items, and then seeking information about possible services or programs or resources that might help folks with that to address those barriers. The intention is that the survey will be available through an online survey link, but then also available in hard copy through numerous venues. Muskogee Public Schools, Muskogee Housing, Bridges Out of Poverty, Head Start, various churches, food pantries, and meal providers will all have copies of the survey to distribute, but then it will also be available online and promoted, Roy suggested, through the city's website and on Channel 14. So really, we just wanted, to update you on what the task force was working on. The task force will be back with a full report and recommendations at the end of the year in December, hopefully giving some good results from the survey and making some recommendations for going forward with that. I would like to also thank you, Wayne Johnson, for serving on the task force. Appreciate his time involved with that as well. Any questions or anything?
Any questions? Doug? Virginia, thank you very much. Unless you got something else to add, we're going to move on to item number 5.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discuss and provide direction to staff on existing permitting procedures required of new or expanded hospital or ambulatory surgical care centers as set forth in City Code 22-674 and 22-675.
Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I will keep this very brief. Basically, what I would like to see is for staff to be directed to provide information to this committee on what would be absolutely needed by state law for permitting hospitals and clinics versus what we impose on ourselves as a city council, because I believe that we are at the point as a city where we need to be mindful of the fact that our residents need to have as many options for health care as possible. And so I'd like staff to go and see what we have on the books that we have imposed versus what the state requires, and then see what other options we can do or actually eliminate to be certain that we have no impediment to other businesses coming to town. Especially when you think about healthcare industry in terms of economic development, it's a driver that could be very positive and influential for our community. And so that's what I'm asking us to do on today.
Is there a state regulation on it? I knew we had a local.
I was thinking when we did the initial lease that there were a state statute that said you had to do a certificate of need. It was to see if you actually needed another hospital in a particular area.
Okay.
That's my memory. I don't know if Mr. Tucker was.
I don't remember there being a state law requiring it. I remember there being some lawsuits that were filed when cities began imposing these in the 90s. And so that may be what we were thinking about, is what kind of because those lawsuits sort of outlined what the minimum standards that would be acceptable to a court would be, rather than being oppressive. But that's something we can certainly put together as part of a report, as well as what other communities in the state do as it relates to regulating hospitals. Because this not only would apply for a new hospital or ambulatory care facility coming into Muskogee, but also an expansion of the existing facilities that we have in here. And Mr. Garvin can attest, we frequently get calls from people who have businesses who want to expand them, and what hurdles that we impose for them in order to do that. So we can certainly put together some work for you all to look at and see if we are too restrictive, not restrictive enough, or just right.
And especially in light of the example you gave about possible hurdles, because I really believe that in the absence of a large industrial complex that has major industrial types of jobs, anything we could do to benefit the residents who have a medical skill set. When you look at what Connors produces, when you look at the number of people that may consider Muskogee as a place to live if they had that type of employment opportunity available, I just want to be certain that we have no impediments to making certain that that can happen.
Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I think we can take that as direction to staff. What I'd like to ask is if we can look at perhaps a 30-day plus time frame for that. We've got Mr. Tucker's plate's very full.
60 days?
60 days. And I know that's something that we can't get done, and we want to make sure we have adequate time to devote to it. So if 60 days is acceptable, I think we can certainly, I won't speak for Roy, but I do know that he has a very busy schedule right now. And so if we had that time frame, I think it'd be very meetable.
That's good.
Mr. Tucker, do we need a motion for that direction?
Nope, I will take that as direction.
Take that as direction. Any other discussion on this issue? If not, seeing that no citizens signed up to meet to this committee, we are adjourned.